On the fringe of a Munich airport lies the wreckage of an airliner, still smouldering from a crash in which 21 people were killed. Tragedy enough at any time. But in that plane were a group of young men who were almost the personal friends of millions. Manchester United, the finest soccer team Britain has produced since the war.
The awful day of the Munich disaster was something which none of us had ever lived through before. It was like a day that never happened in your head.
People was crying on the seats. It was like something similar to when Princess Diana died.
It lasts forever in your mind. It'll always be the same for me. I'll never really a day goes past and you don't think about it, one form or another.
I will always remember them as they were, young lads, full of fun and great players in a great team.
"40 years ago, Manchester United played a European Cup match in Belgrade. They won. Young and confident, everybody loved the Busby Babes. League champions twice, the first team into Europe, they could win the lot. They didn't. On the way home, they stopped at Munich airport. The plane crashed on takeoff. 8 players died. Their average age was just 23. It was a national disaster. Back in the early 50s, the Babes were just a twinkle in manager Matt Busby's eye. Then, if a big club wanted a new player, they simply bought one and hoped he'd fit in. Now Busby wanted to build a team from scratch, to start a family. His new youth policy began in the back streets. Lads in his own image, lads that were hungry for success. Duncan Edwards loved football. He took the ball to bed. Soon, football would love Duncan Edwards.
Near the German goalmouth, left half Duncan Edwards cuts through the defence line like a knife through butter. He beats Vapers and shoots, and it's in the net. A beautiful goal.
He was kicking a ball before he could walk. So when he was going out down to my mum's on a Sunday, he'd be kicking the bricks. I was to say, people are watching you, but he didn't care. He'd keep kicking all the while you went along the road. Couldn't stop it. Well, that's the way we used to go on with him, you know. The clubs, all the clubs were watching him. And he was booked to play for England. He said, well, Mum, he said, I think the best club that I would like to go to in the country is Manchester United. So I said, well, if that's what you want to do and where you want to go, I said, you do it, you go.
At 15, Duncan Edwards signed for Matt Busby. Many more followed. Bobby Charlton was part of the most talented youth team ever. Then, Busby threw them into the first team. It was a revolution.
He had a purge. He would pull out about 5 recognised players, you know, really famous players, and then he banged 5 youngsters in, which at that time was unheard of. You know, you never played young players. You know, this is a hard, tough man's game. You know, put young players in amongst all these big rough diamonds.
A 17-year-old couldn't possibly play football in some of the old fogies' ideas. How could he? You know, that was there. If he wasn't 23 or 25, he couldn't have known anything about football.
And suddenly, the attention of the whole country was on Manchester United. You know, so, and of course the Busby Babes, because they're playing babies, you know, they can't possibly win anything. but it exploded and it just went on.
Now football is a pleasant game, played in the sun, played in the rain, and the team that gets me excited, Manchester United, Manchester United, a bunch of bouncing Busby babes, they deserve to be knighted. If ever they're playing in your town, you must get to that football ground, take a lesson, come to see football taught by Matt Busby and Manchester United, a bunch of bouncing Busby babes, they deserve to be knighted.
People thought that they were part and parcel of that kid that had broken through. There was a wonderful spirit, believe me. People said it was religious. It was nothing to do with religious at all, honestly. It was a religion, but it was called a Manchester United religion.
It's like, you know, when a great painter flicks up some colour from his palette, the amalgam of 2 or 3 colours sometimes. There's some accident, some magic in it that happened. There was with that group, because you had a terrific balance of Coleman and Edwards. You'd got Byrne and you'd got Bill Foulkes at the back. And then right in the middle, you'd got that rock of Mark Jones.
Outside left, David Pegg is on the move straight from the restart. Over to Bobby Charlton, who slams it home. Manchester fans are wild with joy, but there's more to come. Raywood takes the goal kick, and now it's Manchester all the way. The ball goes out to the right wing, where Manchester skipper Roger Byrne tries hard to stop. United swing into the attack. Berry beats them all with a brilliant dash, and Taylor finds the net.
The impact of the young players was so incredible that striker Tommy Taylor was the only player United bought in 4 years. But Tommy was a star back at his home club, Barnsley. He got the £15 a week maximum. Why leave?
Well, there was a lot of speculation about where he was going to go and where he wasn't going to go, and this and other, and there were all reporters hounding him, you know, that started coming to my house then, you see. So if they came, he used to rush upstairs and hide in the bedroom, because they used to stand there and say, I'm sorry, I don't know where he is. Well, at the end, they say, well, can we come in and just take one photo of you, thinking probably they'd find him there. So he was hiding upstairs out that way, you see.
Oh, he didn't want to leave. Didn't want to leave Barnsley. But it was one of them things, he had to go. It was money, wasn't it? And he had to go.
The Barnsley directors had decided to cash in. Matt got his man. The transfer fee was $30,000, but they knocked off £1 to take the pressure off Tommy. The signing was big news. Tommy leaving home was on TV.
They sent this telegram to say that they were coming to do a programme of him at his house, you see. And so I had to go and that, and of course, like, you know, and it was so funny because it was like an handy-pandy thing, because and here comes his girlfriend and here does this, and they filmed me walking down and then into his house, and then we sat on the settee and his mum offered us a cuppa, like, and we sat talking and doing it like that. It was, looking back, it was funny, really, you know.
We come out and we had to come out at the back door. And at the bottom of this yard, there was this big gate. And it was about 5 or 6 foot high. And all of a sudden he set off running and he jumped straight over the top. Well, when we opened the gate and went to the other side, and it was cobbled. Well, see, to the other side, he could have broke his neck, and he was lying to the gate wall laughing. And I says, if Matt Busby had seen they do that, he'd have come potty like, you know what I mean?
Tommy Taylor left one family in Barnsley, but found another at United. If anyone was worried about the money, they soon forgot. His goals won the Babes their first championship in 1956.
Johnny Berry beats his man, Taylor moves in, and Taylor finds the net.
Blackpool defence trying the offside game. Berry going through with it by himself. Cross it comes and Palms made a perfect hit. It's a goal. It's a goal. This is the goal that should give them the championship.
Captain Roger Byrne lifted the trophy. He was old at 27. The others were still too young to vote. Despite their fame, the Babes were not rich. They lived at home or in shared houses with a landlady.
There was about 12 of us in one great big old house, and we shared it with travelling salesmen and people like that. But it was quite close to the ground, so it was all right. And it was good fun because you never got away from talking about football.
Bobby was a new boy in the house. His best mates would be David Pegg and Tommy Taylor.
The press took photographs of them washing up and with tea towels in their hands and that sort of thing. They probably never had a tea towel in their hand in their lives, most of them.
We used to go in the pictures. We'd walk into Manchester to the pictures and walk back because it was boring on the bus. You know, let's walk. We used to walk. The first time, Tommy Taylor was a big star, and David Pegg was in the first team, and I just arrived as a youngster. And they asked me to go, and I thought, well, maybe I better behave like a real professional footballer. So I said, "Oh, leave it to me. I'll get the tickets." And I said, where are we going to sit? And both of them said, "Oh, well, let's sit in the best." So I said, "Okay." So I said 3 bets, and my whole wage packet went in one go, and I thought, blimey.
Well, Saturday night and I just got paid. Soon about my money, don't find a save. Hard day, go, have a time. Saturday night, now I'm feeling fine. Woo-hoo-hoo, I read it up. Come on, I'll take it up. Come on, I'll ride it up. And born tonight.
It was the birth of the teenager, and as it happens, there was the phenomenon of instant stardom. Like a boy could get hold of a guitar in the afternoon, by night time he could be a star with somebody looking for his autograph. Now, in the football world, we had this amazing team, Manchester United, and they were a charismatic group of guys. And what wasn't obvious at the time, but I tippled to it, was that they were the first non-musical megastars.
They was gods. They was gods. There was an hairdresser in Colliers called Harry the Barb, as they called it. And they'd have all these pictures of all the players, and you'd go in and you'd say, "Can you have a David Pegg cut?" And it was all like sort of going back and everything. Oh, God, it looks smart. And they'd go out, these fellas would go out and they'd look like David Pegg. David Pegg was like a film star.
We didn't have a lot of money to spend on clothes, I must be honest. I think it was the way that I came down. I tended to buy stuff that would last a long time rather than be absolutely fashionable at the time. But little Eddie Coleman was the trendy one, you know. He's the first one I ever saw with drainpipe trousers and winkle picker shoes.
I wasn't that daring. I used to have the crepe sole shoes, but not the drainpipe trousers. And of course he had the sideburns down here. The real, not the teddy boy image, but he was never a teddy boy, but he was in the image of that. That was the sort of clothes.
You wanted to look so smart that, say it was in the taxi, we'd all be sitting on the edge of the seat so that we wouldn't crease our jackets and keeping our legs out like that, so we wouldn't, you know, crease them, so that we'd look, you had to look absolutely flawless when you got there, because you'd walk in like that. But Eddie had his shuffle like, didn't he? You know, he had that little, it was a little shuffle he used to go in.
When I first met Eddie, he just asked me if I'd like to dance, and I said yes. Obviously, I thought he was cute.
He really chuffed. He said, "Met this lovely girl, you know." I said, "Oh, yeah, yeah." He said, "Yeah, yeah."
And I said, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" And he said, "Oh, I work in Trafford Park." And I thought, oh, very nice, you know.
All he'd say was painter and decorator. That was his favourite, painter and decorator. Sometimes he'd say he was a docker.
And we just got sort of friendly, and then I think the week after we went, and he asked me to go out with him. And it went from there. I went out with Eddie for 2 years.
After everything had finished on a Saturday, they'd all sing, even get Eddie to sing sometime, you know. When he'd had a couple of drinks, he fancied himself as a singer sometimes. Forget the songs you sing, but he fancied himself as a singer, you know.
Pennies from Heaven. That was his song, Pennies from Heaven, because he thought he had a great voice. And Bobby would get it, Bobby Charlton would sing in there. And Bobby did actually have a fabulous voice. You know, he sounded a bit like Bing Crosby. Oh, was it Frank Sinatra? Sorry, Bobby.